Fame 15 creative design agency in Pittsburgh. When I met with them and we were talking about this full impact mindfulness, which is paying attention on purpose and participating in your life, we began to formulate this idea. And one of my favorite movies is Wizard of Oz. So when we talk about Dorothy, we talk about the original film, the beginning of it being filmed in black and white, and when Dorothy went through all these tumultuous changes in her life, signified by the tornado, landing in Oz, crushing the witch, which was evil and the bad things in her life. Yeah. She opened the door, and what did she see? Everything was in Technicolor. And quite often we'll look at this, we'll say, have you ever seen a baby chick being born coming out of the shell, or a caterpillar coming out of its chrysalis, out of the cocoon? It's a struggle to get out of those. Mm-hmm. They're exhausted when they get out of them. And when you're inside, it's all dark. However, that struggle was worth it. What it took, though, was a catalyst for you to crawl out.
And I couldn't agree with you more. It's been strange. It's been so strange that I really feel since that started, since I climbed up on that stage and started pursuing and honing and choosing that on purpose, the power that my words have taken on, the power that my presence, the power that my actions have taken on, it's shocking. I'm still reeling, and I still wonder how everything has turned Technicolor. But it's because I took an encouragement and I decided to, okay, I will step forward in confidence and I will choose this and I will hone it. And I've had strangers weep in my arms. Mm-hmm. I have heard confessions that I don't deserve to hear. And I remember thinking in my head, you don't deserve this. You don't know this person. You have not earned their trust. And
whose voice is that?
Well, that's mine. But then God, I hear his voice too. And he steps in and he was like, that's not your problem. Your job is to be here right now and to be with this person.
So when we talk about paying attention on purpose, what we talk about is that most people wish, hope, or wait for things to happen in their lives, okay? So we talk about belief, and anybody can believe in anything. Mm-hmm. You can believe in leprechauns. That's cool. That's wonderful. There may be leprechauns. I hope I run into one someday. However, they have little or no effect on my life. And then you move on that to faith. And faith, all faith is belief in something that you don't understand, like these glowing things in the ceiling. I know they provide light, and I know it's electricity that gets them to glow. Beyond that, it's all hearsay. It's all guesswork to me. However, I have faith that if I go over and flip the light switch, that they're going to go off. And really and truly, what effect does that have in my life? So what we talk about is faith in action. And please don't think that we're putting any religious type of connotations on this podcast. However, we make no apologies for when we talk about the holistic type of wellness, when we talk about the connection between mind, body, and spirit, and that connection with spirit, with whatever that may mean to you. So I always tell this story, and I think it illustrates the point perfectly. There's this person that prayed to win a lottery every day, sweat, blood, and nothing ever happened. So they got so angry one day that they ran outside and they yelled up at the sky. They said, God, why won't you let me win the lottery? And God called back down and said, could you meet me halfway and at least buy a ticket? So the idea is, you've bought the ticket, Miss Joanna.
Yeah.
And that takes a conscious choice.
And I didn't realize the power of that choice and the potential of my life, where looking back, so many of my regrets I have were allowing things to happen to me. We allow things to happen and then we react to them. And when you are just reacting and you're not really conscious, you don't make healthy choices most of the time. And so my whole life, it's things happen. I'm a historical victim. I have allowed things. I really hope things happen. I really, and unhealthy. I'm a procrastinator. I am not a morning person. I'm a late nighter. I'm all of these things. And then I get upset when things just don't work out. And poor me. And um and you make unhealthy choices or you allow things to happen. And um now I can't imagine living any other way. And when I feel out of control of my situations, the first thing I do is, what do I have control over? Or where is this anxiety coming from? Is it because of a responsibility I have shirked? Is this because of something I need to do? Is it an email? Is it a phone call? Is it an action? Um, or is this just something that I have to be patient and let ride out?
So you're speaking to yourself like a friend.
I'm trying to. I'm trying to treat myself with more kindness.
And whoever, well, and that's one of the Buddhist terms, is that we pay attention with kindness,
Yeah.
is what we do. And the Buddha talks about compassion and great compassion. Compassion is your dog, your daughter, a friend. Naturally, you have compassion for them, and that doesn't take a whole lot of effort. When we talk about great compassion, what we're talking about is showing love and kindness for everyone. In the Quaker world, when we talk about holding people in the light, what we truly do is attempt to connect and join in with the Creator, the Divine's infinite love for that person, as difficult as times may be.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the thing is also in holding myself to that, I have also been able to have grace for other people and recognizing my here and now and the things that I struggle with. I am able to both recognize other people's wrongdoings, but also show kindness and grace. And it's because I can understand how I have fallen short that I have grace for other people's shortcomings too. But it doesn't mean I'm also trying to also learn to protect my own boundaries, because that's another way that I am.
Boundaries could certainly be a whole talk for another
Yeah,
occasion for sure.
yeah,
However, Dr. Wayne Dyer said that if you have a choice between being kind and being right, choose kind and you'll be right every time. Again, that's a choice.
that speaks to me so clearly. I've been in so many situations. Um, a couple very recent big ones come to mind, especially with the divorce, but with a couple how other friends have treated. They are reactive and they are so worried. And I know, like, I was so worried about being right. Let me explain. Let me. And I would always rather come out knowing that I have been kind. I have shown love. And I will never regret that. And somebody else treating me badly, that's on them. That is not on me.
Indeed. And you
And
have a choice as to whether to expose yourself to those situations or not.
exactly. Exactly.
And one of the lines that you particularly used that caught my attention in relevance to what we do is when you talk about living intentionally.
In especially everything was, we talk about Technicolor, everything was sort of live wire, going through all of the emotions and psychoses and pathologies, all of it off the charts, especially during that saturated time of the divorce, all of that. But I also had a lot of epiphanies through there. And it was during that time I realized, taking stock of the moment and making sure that I was choosing. People have the tendency to walk in their house and turn on the TV, and then 4 hours go by while they're watching reruns of something they don't actually like, and they wonder where their evening went, and they are miserable, and they're depressed, and they are. And I realized just how much time, and not just time, but ourselves, we've just let go in those moments. And living intentionally, realizing, you know what, I want to veg out and I want to crack watch Netflix for a few hours. That's what's going to feel good right now, and that's what I want to do. And so I don't feel guilty. Living intentionally has helped diminish my anxiety, because when you are putting off responsibilities or you find yourself in a situation watching TV that you haven't really chosen, when you are ignoring responding to somebody's text that will help them, that it creates this ongoing feeling of imbalance, and you're nowhere. You're in this in between and you haven't chosen anything. And how are you supposed to feel good about that? You can't. So I feel at least like, well, I've made a choice, whether it's a good or bad one, or wise or unwise. Here, I will watch Netflix now. You know what? I am choosing to go out. I am choosing to risk money on buying such and such. And it's diminished my anxiety tremendously because I am not leaving things up to, well, is this going to happen? Boy, I wish something else would happen to me right now. I'm I'm buying the ticket.
You spoke about time earlier, and quite often what we do is we'll do a little bit of an exercise using time as currency, being mindful. So what would your favorite color be at this very instant, Joanna?
Purple,
Purple.
purple.
Okay. And what would be a shape that would mean something to you? Star, diamond, square, heart?
I don't know if this fits, but the thistle.
A thistle? Sure. Absolutely. Well, most thistles are purple.
Yeah.
So the idea is that you have these purple thistles. However, they're not Crayola crayon colors. They're
Right.
sparkling and they're alive. And they're like metal flake in the sun. They're vibrant, and they're shiny, and they're exquisite, and they're beautiful. And they're so rare, and they're only yours. They're only yours. So what else are people born with but time? Who knows how long? So let's imagine that you have a bag full of these magnificent, irreplaceable purple thistles on your hip. And however, if you're mindful of every time, of every action that you take, every thought, things that you do, you're actually reaching in your pocket, pulling out one of these magnificent, irreplaceable, exquisite objects and spending it like currency. And there are no refunds.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Walmart, they won't give you a gift card. So would you walk down the streets of the city burning $50 bills?
No.
However, how often have either you said this or you've run into other people that said, "What are you doing? I'm killing time. I'm wasting time." You're taking those irreplaceable objects that are only yours and literally burning them. Now, keep in mind that at some point, a wise mind choice might be, I'm going to spend my currency on crashing out on Netflix.
Yeah.
And that's a wise mind choice.
Right.
That's how I choose to spend my
Yeah.
currency.
And it's minimized my regrets. It's kept me from making unwise choices. And so not just my that anxiety about the present and the future, but it's minimized my regrets going forward, which is wonderful because I can't change the past, but I can I can begin to have an influence, a power over, a control over my recent past.
You can use that past as one of your greatest assets and perhaps as a template for your future decisions. And keeping on the topic of living intentionally, we talk about paying attention on purpose, which is what
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness truly is. It's paying attention on purpose. It's not leaving your body and flying around the moon, or you don't have to go to Tibet and sit on satin pillows and be surrounded by 10,000 candles and go home all day. That'd be nice. It'd
Yeah.
be super duper. However, what we often ask people to do is create spa moments for themselves during the day. We do check-ins to see whether you're alive. We do a bunch of really neat stuff, which I'd like to talk to you about in the future. However, quite often what we challenge people to do is be in a familiar place, a drive perhaps that they go on every day. And I ask them to pay attention on purpose and notice something that they haven't seen before. And I'll guarantee you every single time you'll find something that you have not noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time. And then you'll begin to be in that moment. And then mindfulness is when we pay attention to each moment and when we move from each moment to each moment, those moments truly become timeless. And one other thing I wanted to get back to was when you were at that jumping off point, that epiphany, where you were pushed out of your comfort zone by those strong emotions. Most of our memories are formed by strong emotions. You
Mm-hmm.
described that so vividly. And so most of our lives, and when we talk about saying, oh my gosh, I'd like to crystallize this moment, well,
Yeah.
let's say a special moment with your daughter. So what we want to do is we want to add strong emotions to those memories, and they'll bond more strongly. And ridiculously, sometimes I ask people to if they really want to remember something, to laugh out loud as hard as they can.
Mm.
And who cares if it's out in public?
Yeah.
You want whose memory is it? Is it theirs or yours?
It's mine.
And they might have that memory of
Yeah.
you laughing loudly out in public, telling that years later. Well, that's just wonderful. I'd like to discuss some of your Epiphany album. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. It was, I was still adjusting to the fact that things that I wrote, feelings that I had, were going to be put on a CD, and people were showing up in a studio to record them. So I was kind of lashing out, thinking, well, of all the pieces, what do I put on a CD? And two of them that I knew right away is As Best as We Can Bear, which is what the community calls the saddest poem ever, and Lullaby, which is the piece that I wrote for my daughter. Those were two that I knew had to be there. And those were two of the ones that were closest to my heart, whatever the live wire, that raw nerve, those were two that I valued that much.
When I listened to Mama's Lullaby, I kept going back in my own mind to wonderful stories that I had read, such as Through the Looking Glass, the Alice in Wonderlands, all of the Peter Pan
Yes,
stories.
yes.
I thought of those magical, wonderful, mystical times.
Whimsical.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
And well, if you want to know it, the lullaby, the the piece itself is more what I brought to it. It's much more complicated than what comes out in the piece itself. It's actually part two of a bigger piece. And the first part, which I wrote first, was about those early days of divorce, waking up in my new home without my daughter and being lost. And I mean, my duplex is the size of a small house, but it's not this immense space, but it may as well have been. And I woke up and I remember thinking, is this, wait, I'm supposed to get dressed now. That's what people do before they go to work. How do we get dressed? It was it was walking through, and I wrote a piece about it. It was this twisted jungle gym of these yawning angles and this unfillable space. And I was lost without my daughter to tether me to life and to routine and to the world. Without her, because she is there, I know who I am. I am your mother. These are things that we do in order to, I, this is how I love. And without her, it was, it was this yawning emptiness, and seeing a toy that was left behind in the middle of the floor it was too painful. Getting used to that, to the fact that now my daughter lived in different places with me and without me. Seeing a toy in the middle of the carpet would break my heart, and it was too painful to see it there. And so I had to remove evidence of her from my life when she wasn't with me so that I could keep going. And to talk about my daughter, who is the thing that I love most in this life, in this world, to talk with such struggle, such, not hopelessness, but such darkness and loss. I didn't want that to be the period on the end of the sentence, talking about my daughter going through this. And so I said, well, what what can I do? This is truth, but this can't be the end of it. What else is here about my daughter? And one thing that I could do, no matter what was happening with me, no matter how I felt, no matter where she was, I could wish her peace. So the lullaby was me wishing her peace. Whatever bed she was going to sleep in, whoever she was saying goodnight to, that was something that I could do and I could mean.
the connection between you and your daughter. And as with any artist, you had your own conception of what it meant to you when you put it out there. However, from other people's perspectives, you could view that as reverie, you could view that as whimsical, you could view that as some type of a magical childhood
Mm-hmm.
experience, either you participated in or you remember or you wish you had
Yeah.
one of those things. And it's it's gratifying to see how you're unafraid to show your own emotions when you talk about your daughter. And this is one of the things that perhaps women share among themselves, which I'm not in on that secret yet. However, the emotions and the thoughts and feelings are so layered and interwoven that it's just a beautiful thing to behold.
Thank you very
Heck,
much.
I'm grateful that we can sit here and participate in it.
Once upon a time with you, sweetheart, in a land of home and far away, there's a house of gingerbread dreams and carnival scraps of paper hearts, where we conspire traps for dancing bears, creating mobiles weaved with wonder over the existence of unicorns, rainbows arching a sky over talking lions.
Please check out our website at fishingwithoutbait.com, where you can listen to the show, comment on our discussions, and find out where you can subscribe to our podcast. If you're interested in flying the colors of Fishing Without Bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.